I'm Shannon.
And I am Holly, and this is a Girls Gone Curious podcast, where we talk about things that make us curious. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and relax because your show is loading. Today's episode includes the following trigger warnings, mentioning topics of sexual assault of a child and murder. This podcast is not suitable for children. Please listen with care. This is part 23 of 50 states, 50 cases. Today we will be covering the states Vermont and Virginia. We do apologize if we say any of the name or places wrong in today's cases.
Today's first case will take place in the state of Vermont. George Wilson Peacock was born on December 13, 1912, in Chicopee, Massachusetts. George's father, Wilbur Charles Peacock, was born February 17, 1880, in Canada. His mother, Catherine Stevenson Wilson Peacock, was born on August 29, 1876, in Quebec, Canada. George's wife, Catherine Eloise Lindsay Peacock, was born on July 14, 1916, in Washington, D.C., to parents Dr. Hanvier Witten Lindsay and Catherine Crable Lindsay. George and Catherine would fall in love and marry in 1942. They would move to Danby, Vermont to start their life together. It is believed that they had 3 daughters. Now, I could only find one of the daughters' names. The other 2 daughters, couldn't find any information, grandchildren, any of that. I couldn't find any of that information.
Okay.
A side note, Danby, Vermont is known for the very small town atmosphere and beautiful views of mountains, valleys, and streams. Danby is also known as the largest underground marble mine in the world. Marble from that mine is located in the Jefferson Memorial in the United States Supreme Court building. In September of 1989, George was 76 and Catherine was 73. Both were living life to the fullest and enjoying retirement. At the end of their driveway was a small shop that Catherine would sell books and little gifts from. George worked 3 days a week at the Rutland Motel. George would go into town every day and pick up the newspaper, the Rutland Herald. Everyone said that George was always very punctual with work and coming into town to get his paper. He never missed a day. September 14th, George didn't show up to get his newspaper, and some thought that was odd. He never missed a day, but maybe he just had something else to do that day. But George didn't show up for work either. This was unheard of, because he called any time he was going to be just a few minutes late. He never did anything like a no-call, no-show. His coworkers began to worry when George missed another few days. On September 17th, a neighbor was walking by George and Catherine's house and noticed that their car was in the driveway and that the garage door was closed. The neighbor, wanting to make sure they were okay, began walking up to the house, and he could see George laying at the bottom of the stairs. The neighbor ran to the front door, but it was locked. He then ran to the car, and thankfully it was unlocked. He pushed the garage door opener and was able to get inside the house through the entry door in the garage. When he got to George, he noticed there was blood surrounding him. He called out for Catherine, and there was no answer. The neighbor ran through the house and found her on the 2nd floor in an unfinished bedroom. The neighbor called the police then, and police determined that George and Catherine were dead. It was noted that when the police got there didn't seem to be any forced entry, no obvious robbery, and the home was secure. Police found a newspaper dated September 13th. The neighbor said that the last time he had seen George was on the 13th and that he had been mowing his lawn. Police believe they were killed on the 13th due to those 2 facts. Police found that only 3 things were disturbed in the home. George's back pocket had been ripped, but his wallet lay nearby him. Catherine's purse and pocketbook were messed with, and there was a footlocker trunk that had been gone through in the room that Catherine was in. The autopsy revealed that both George and Catherine had been stabbed several times with a double-edged knife. The blade was less than 1 inch wide. Police questioned the neighbors, and some said that on the 13th they saw a tan sedan driving around and at the home, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No vehicles that were close to the Peacock's home met the description of the vehicle. The motive was still unknown, but there were rumors that the Peacocks didn't trust banks and that they kept a large sum of cash in their home, so it was believed that someone was in the home and killed the Peacocks to get the cash. Family and friends were asked to come in to talk to the police also. One of their daughters, Penelope, nicknamed Penny, had married Michael Anthony Louise. Penelope and Michael lived in New York. They showed up to the police station in a rental car. When police asked about the car, Louise stated that he didn't think their car would make it that far. Penny and Louise didn't go to any memorial services for her parents. When asked why, they said it was to avoid any media attention. Police found that Penny and her husband owned a tan sedan. They wanted to talk to both of them again. Louise claimed he didn't know what had happened on the 13th, and that he had blacked out and didn't remember anything. Upon further investigation, police found that Louise had used this excuse several times and had other crimes under his belt, including the sexual assault of a 4-year-old girl. On January 12, 1966, Louise essayed her in her home. He claimed he blacked out on that day as well, but he did admit to having carnal knowledge of his actions. He only got 6 years in prison. Police were able to obtain a warrant and found 17 circumstantial pieces of evidence from the tan sedan, but unfortunately, that is where the trail ended. The case would remain open, but no new evidence or witness statements would come in. That is until 2020 and the advancement in technology, including DNA analysis. All of the evidence would come back into play. It seems like we have a lot of cases that, with the advancement in technology, like DNA definitely comes into play.
Genealogy has played quite a bit in our cases as well.
Yeah. So the evidence included Louise's statements claiming he was going to drive his car to his in-laws' house to pick up some wooden boards for a project he was doing. When asked if he blacked out, drove to Danby, and killed his in-laws, Louise said it was possible. Another statement from Louise was made with his attorney present. He admitted he dropped his wife off at work on the 13th and was heading to get the boards from his in-laws' house. But after stopping several times to rest, he decided to turn around and go back home. Side note, it is 197 miles from their Liverpool residence to his in-laws in Danby. Louise did drive a 1986 tan Chevy Celebrity sedan that matched the description of the vehicle seen by many in the area. Police also found it hard to believe Louise was going there to transport wood boards in his vehicle, and for that length of distance as well. When the police mentioned that they were going to check the tolls to Penny and her husband, they believed it meant the traffic tolls, and that the police would find out that Louise had in fact gone to Vermont and back on September 13th. So on September 29th, Louise wrote a suicide note to his wife, took a weapon, and disappeared. Penny gave the note to the police. The note police received stated that Louise was scared to talk to the police again. He was afraid of taking a polygraph and scared he was going to hurt his wife and kids. Louise did end up back at home and asked to have a private meeting with Sergeant Abby the following day. Other statements in evidence: Patricia Gannon, Louise's niece, had given the police statements in 1992 and 2021. She stated that Louise admitted to going to Vermont and claimed he had one of his blackouts. Patricia believed that her uncle was trying to confess at that time, but he decided against it. Another statement made by Patricia was that Louise went to jail for 18 days in 1990. This was because he purchased a firearm when he was a felon. Patricia and Louise's oldest daughter went through his car and found a knife under the driver's seat. The knife matched the description of the knife used to kill the Peacocks. The 2 times Penny and her husband went to Vermont to talk to police, both times they had a rental car, claiming their car couldn't make the drive, but Louise admitted to driving the car to Vermont on September 13th. So that's just another inconsistency.
Yeah.
All of the statements and eyewitness accounts were worthy information for building the case. It wasn't until the advancement in DNA analysis that they would get the break they needed. The car mat from Luis's car was preserved perfectly, which is sometimes unheard of. On that car mat was blood. When the blood was sent back in for testing, it was a match to George Peacock. October 11th, 2022, Luis is arrested for 2 counts of second-degree murder. At that time, he still lived in New York, so he was extradited from New York to Vermont. He stated he was not guilty. The prosecution wanted him to be held with no bail. The defense made a compelling argument that Luis is in failing health and needs help to get up out of bed and should be released back to the skilled nursing home he was residing at. The judge did agree, and the bail was set at $200,000. No trial date has yet been set. If Luis is found guilty, the second-degree murder charges carries up to the maximum of life in prison per crime.
How would he not be found guilty?
Yeah. Especially, so I don't know, like, a lot of the sources were very all over the place. So it was like trying to piece together from each different source. I'm assuming that the police had the murder weapon in 1990. They did testing on the floor mat at that time, but at that time it was inconclusive. So they were able to preserve it properly.
To do a future test when it got better.
Yeah. And so I'm assuming at that point is when they were able to in 2020. So with all the testing and going through the proper channels that they had to go through, they were able to get it tested, and it was determined that it was George's blood.
So basically, he was the main suspect for murder, but they didn't have the technology to basically confirm that he's the killer until 2022.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me because it happened in 1989.
Yeah. And the thing I can think of is, like, it seems to be like a lot of the smaller towns don't have the technology that larger cities and towns do. And I believe at that time there was less than 200 people in that town. So Luis was number one suspect. Obviously, he is the one that, in my mind at least, he is the one that actually stabbed the Peacocks. However, I do believe Penny was involved.
Yeah, she knew where he was going. And
Penny actually admitted to knowing her husband was going to go to her parents' house, so she had to know he was going to kill them. Was she the one who planned it, or were they both planning it?
Yeah.
And why hasn't she been arrested? So I don't know. There's just a lot of inconsistencies with her story and how she knew her husband went there, but she lied for him at first. And then she was panicking when the police explained about the tolls. And the tolls were actually going to be like regarding phone calls, not the actual tollways in the like road tollways.
Well, and they said, "Oh, we rented a car, right?"
Yeah, both times.
But then that's like condescending himself because he said he took his car to go get the boards or whatever.
Yeah, and I looked up a picture of the vehicle, and it's possible to, like, he doesn't talk about the length of the boards or anything or how many boards, just that he was supposed to go there to pick up boards for a project that he was doing at his house. Yeah. You're not fitting 10-foot boards in there. You're not even fitting 8-foot would be very hard. And if it has some of the cars had like the middle section in the back seat where you could like pop that open. And he might be able to fit maybe an 8-footer. I don't think so, not judging by the picture, but I mean, I guess he could if he had like the red flag out hanging out the back or whatever, but
that was one of my questions was there actually boards or not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, going by everything that was said, there was
no boards.
No boards at the house. And then Penny admitting, like telling the police and then panicking when the police had called sometime between the 17th and the 29th, called her to let them know that that's what they were going to be doing. And so she knew something was wrong. So she knew her husband was lying. She was lying.
Very suspicious to me.
Yeah.
And His story of blacking out is complete bullshit.
Yeah, that enrages me.
Yeah. And then the fact that he wrote the suicide note but then didn't actually do it. To me, that's like, oh, feel bad for me. I actually blacked out and didn't mean to do these things.
Yeah.
When...
But like for every crime, well, I don't know about every crime, but every crime that I've seen listed, that was his excuse, was that he blacked out.
Yeah, BS.
So far, the judge did state that the prosecution has not given any testimony regarding how the blood on the floor mat was collected, only the chain of custody once it was in police custody. So I don't know if that's why the bail was granted, like little things like that. They followed the chain of custody, but they didn't explain, like, how did you go about collecting the sample? So...
Yeah, and it was 1989, so there probably wasn't a lot of... There's not protocol like we have now.
Yeah, true. One of the articles I saw, he was 81, or is 81 at the time, so... And he is in failing health, but we do have other... He still should be...
I don't care if you have failing health. If you committed a crime, you deserve to be in prison.
Right. Regardless of the circumstance, he was charged with killing 2 people. All the evidence points to him. Granted, he hasn't been convicted yet, but everything points to him. So hopefully there will be an update on this case, and I don't know if the defense is kind of trying to wait it out because he is 81 and not doing well.
They're just waiting for him to die.
I don't know if that's their game plan. I mean, even if he was to get charged, most likely the defense would request that he goes into a living facility. Yeah.
You couldn't see it, but I did the biggest eye roll ever.
I know. Did that hurt?
What confuses me is the police said it didn't look like a robbery, but then they come up with the theory that it was happening because they had a rumor that they were hiding money.
Yeah. So the only thing I can think is, like, when they came in and do, like, the initial investigation, and they see that nothing is really messed with except for those couple of things, and it's like,
assuming
yeah, okay, so there was no, like, robbery, but then after talking to neighbors and people in town and finding out that, yeah, they really didn't trust banks, so that they probably did stash cash all over the house. But I don't think anything was ever substantiated that it was. Yeah.
Because to me, if you're killing someone because of money, I'd be flipping that house upside down to try to find that.
Yeah.
Not just like a couple little, was it like dressers or chests?
Yeah, like a Foot Locker. And I was looking up like sizes of Foot Lockers just to kind of see from like that time, and I could see you could probably put a good amount of cash in there, but nothing. I don't know. I guess it would depend on if it was hundreds, or I think at that time, was there even $1,000 bills? I could be lying.
Yeah. I can't imagine that they would have $1,000 bills.
Yeah. I'm thinking it was probably like high increments, but probably like 50s, 100s, that kind of thing.
Yeah. If they even had money.
Yeah. If they even had money in there.
Yeah.
But looking at a picture of $1,000 bill, it looks fake. It does look fake.
Crazy that the murder happened in 1989. And there still has not yet been a trial set.
Yeah.
And it's fucking 2025.
Yeah. That's what I thought too, and that's the only thing I can think of is because of his failing health and where he might not be able to stand trial. I mean, I honestly don't know, so they keep putting it off and like keep postponing it, but
yeah, man. Today's second case will take place in the state of Virginia. When Lisa Marto didn't report to officer training school in Fort Lee, Virginia, the military immediately listed her as AWOL. Lisa would remain missing for 15 years. In June of 2010, one single remain would be found, declaring her dead. Lisa Marto was born on October 4th, 1964, in Somers Point, New Jersey. Her father was Joseph Morto. I couldn't find anything on who her birth mother was, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Joseph was well off, owning multiple business across the U.S. and even in Europe. Lisa and her sister would attend Montessori and arrive at school in a Rolls Royce. That was until her parents got divorced. I also couldn't find the year or anything about that because I couldn't find anything on her mom for whatever reason. Joseph would meet a new woman and eventually marry Nancy, becoming the stepmother of Lisa and her sister. Nancy said she met Lisa when she was about 10 years old, saying, "I treated Lisa like my daughter. She was the daughter I never had." Lisa was said to be very smart and outgoing. At the age of 3, her father owned a house with a pool, and she just jumped right in and began to swim. Nancy said, older she got, the more ambitious Lisa got. That is until at the age of 16, when she got in a car accident, going through the windshield. She became self-conscious as a teen in high school with scarring on her face and bandages covering her. She also had no bottom teeth in her mouth, and she needed a special porcelain dental plate. After graduating high school, she moved down to West Palm, Florida, to be with her mom and sister. She got a job in an auto body shop. Lisa wasn't the type of girl that cared if she got her hands or clothes dirty. While there, she met a man named Jim Burdett. After dating for a short time, Lisa, 21 years old, and Jim, 24 years old, at the time, got married in 1985. A year later, in 1986, they would have a daughter together that they named Leah. Leah was born with cystic fibrosis, a condition where it causes damage to the lungs and digestive system. They gave her 4 to 5 years to live. But with medications, it extended her life. Lisa would put all her time into taking care of her child, like any normal parent would do, and this would put a strain on her and Jim's relationship. They would divorce in 1989. Lisa would take Leah and move to Virginia. In 1992, she met a man named Lawrence Gaudenzi, who was a tow truck driver. Lisa thought he was good-looking and charming. He was involved with the Mormon church, and the bishop of that church rented out a house to both of them. The house was located in a quiet, religious, rural area. In 1993, Lisa got pregnant again and had a daughter named Shelby. 6 months later, Lisa and Gaudenzi got married. Lisa was happy. She loved her 2 daughters and wanted to be the best mom she could be. One of Lisa's friends, Rachel Fitzpatrick, said, Lawrence's ability to provide was questionable. He was not constantly maintaining a full-time job. Lisa would enlist in the Army in 1994. I don't know if this was because Gaudenzi didn't have a stable job or because it was something Lisa truly wanted to do. Either way, her goal was to get enlisted, attend officer training school, then become a JAG judge. Attending officer training school would give her the opportunity to go to law school, and that was her ultimate goal and dream, was to become a judge. For some reason, Lisa would decide to send her 8-year-old daughter Leah to live in Florida with her grandma. Gaudenzi and Shelby would stay in Virginia at their house. They would also rent out their basement to a woman who would help around the house in exchange, like do dishes, laundry, dinner, all that type of stuff. Gaudenzi would watch and take care of Shelby while Lisa would study and attend school. Lisa graduated basic training in the Army in January of 1995. Shortly after, I believe it was a week after, she was scheduled to report to the officer training school on January 28, 1995. All new trainees reported to the barracks except for Lisa. Her family immediately knew something was wrong. The Army immediately listed Lisa as AWOL. The day after she was supposed to report, military police officers showed up at Gaudenzi's house to inform him and also ask questions. Gaudenzi claims to have no idea where she is, claiming she was supposed to be in Fort Lee. Gaudenzi would then file a missing person report on Lisa. Gaudenzi would say that he dropped off Lisa at a bus station in Richmond. She was supposed to ride the bus the rest of the way to Fort Lee. Police said that Gaudenzi didn't seem to want to cooperate in assisting them. He would also say that all her clothes, wedding rings, and Army uniforms were at the house, which is contradicting himself because he dropped her off for training, but her uniforms are at home.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when Gaudenzi filed the police report. Some sources say January 29th, others say February 8th. Maybe he filled it on January 28th and talked to the police on February 8th, but I'm not too sure on that. While looking at Lisa's belongings, police found several love letters. The problem was they weren't addressed to Gaudenzi, but instead to a man named Israel. Some of the letters said, "Israel, you are always on my mind. I look forward to sharing my life with you. But it is really hard having to wait. I have waited so long for happiness, and now I finally found the man for me, and I can't be with him." Another letter said, "I know we have plenty of time to be together, but I hate wasting 4 months of my life without you. I have already wasted 30 years. Every night before I fall asleep, I think about laying in your arms. I miss going to sleep with you next to me. I don't ever want to be away from you for such a long time again." Ending the letters something along the lines of, "Good night, my love, Lisa." Each letter would talk about her missing Israel and talking about future plans to be with each other again. Police thought automatically that some sort of romantic partnership could lead to a suspect. 2 days after Lisa went missing, they met up with a man named Israel in Florida. Interviewing him, he said that he had no idea about Lisa missing. He hadn't seen her since the last time she spent Christmas in Florida. From Israel's perspective, the relationship wasn't as serious as what it seemed in the letters. They hadn't talked or met up. He only received some of the letters that she was sending. And I don't know if he was replying to them at all.
Okay.
All I seen was letters addressed to him. January 31st, 3 days after she went missing, police interviewed the tenant living in the basement. She said that Lisa and Gaudenzi were home that day before she had to report to the Army. The next day, Lisa and Gaudenzi left assuming he was dropping her off at training school. Police believed this report and didn't look any further into anything, causing the case to go cold. Gaudenzi would spin the story that Lisa left him for another man, leaving him alone as a single father. The community around him would feel bad for him, basically making Lisa the bad guy. News would travel fast and eventually get to Jim, Lisa's first husband. Jim would travel up to Virginia to meet up with Gaudenzi. They would pretty much bond over what Lisa did to them, both. Afraid that Lisa would try to take Shelby away from him, he would file for full custody. And so would Jim for Leah. Nancy, Lisa's stepmom, would hire an attorney right away. Nancy and Joe would gain full custody of Leah. However, they were only able to have phone visitations with Shelby. So Gaudenzi would take Shelby and begin a new life. Nancy and Joe would call the police multiple times, begging for them to keep searching for Lisa. Their response was that they couldn't really do anything else. She was over the age of 18, and she's done it before. Nancy would say that even though Lisa had done this before, has just gone missing, she still kept in contact. So it's not like she just stopped talking to everyone. So this time, it was like she just disappeared. Joe made a campaign, hung up signs, and hired a PI. He was disappointed and mad at the police station for doing nothing. The PI would also put up signs and talk to neighbors. He said the house and the area around the house should be searched, but he didn't have enough probable cause to do it. Nancy said, "At night, we'd go to sleep. We'd have a pen and paper on our nightstand in case we thought of something in the middle of the night." Which is just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The army would dishonorably discharge Lisa because of not reporting. Gaudenzi would change his phone number and his name on the account. Nancy and Joe and other family members wouldn't be able to reach him to talk to Shelby, cutting them completely off.
Such bullshit.
At some point, the police contacted Gaudenzi to ask him to take a polygraph test. At first, he agreed and set up a time and place to do the test. When the day came, Gaudenzi never showed up. Later, he would say it was because he was sick, but in reality, he was skipping town, basically. And it seemed like he and Shelby just disappeared. Ruther Glen, Caroline County, was a small rural town. The local police station would turn this case over to the state because they didn't have the resources to continue this case. Having fresh eyes on the case, Gaudenzi's story didn't quite make sense.
Wow.
Shocker. Gaudenzi claims that he left his home in Ruther Glen with Lisa and drove her to a bus stop that was in Richmond. The Richmond bus stop was about 45 minutes away from their house. Lisa supposedly got on a bus to take her the rest of the way to Fort Lee, which was an additional 30 minutes. Why would you drive 45 minutes to a bus stop when you're already over halfway there? Wouldn't you drive the rest of the way to drop off your significant other?
Yeah.
And there was no other bus stations between Ruther Glen and Richmond? Unfortunately, not only were they looking for Lisa, investigators now were looking for Gaudenzi and Shelby. June of 2002, 7 years after she went missing, state police made a deal with a news station. They asked them to run Lisa's story and show a picture of Gaudenzi, saying if you have any information to call this number and so on. Not long after, a tip would come in. An anonymous person said they knew the man in the picture. However, his name wasn't Gaudenzi. It was actually Randy Evans. In the next county over, Rockingham, they found a man working as a discount retailer on June 14, 2002, who looked exactly like Gaudenzi. Talking to him, they asked him if he was Gaudenzi, and he said no. But he looked like him, wore a brace like him, and when they asked to show his tattoo on his chest, what do you know? It's the exact tattoo that Gaudenzi had. Gaudenzi was pretending to be Randy Evans. If it looks like a bird, if it squawks like a bird, it is a bird.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
He would say he came across a homeless man, Randy Evans, and told him that he would give him a car and $10,000 in exchange for his identity. The real Randy Evans has never been seen again. He was last seen in 1998, and his missing case is still open. Gaudenzi's reason for taking another man's identity and running away was because he believed that Joe put out a hit on him.
Oh, please.
Yeah. When police told this to Joe and Nancy, they just started laughing because it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was arrested for identity theft and violating probation on a weapons charge. Gaudenzi was found guilty of forgery and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. He would be released in 2004. Gaudenzi had created a whole new life in Rockingham County. He got remarried to a woman named Linda May and changed Shelby's name to Logan Evans Dorenzo, which she still goes by today. So for the rest of the case, I will be calling her Logan. After being arrested, Linda May told Logan that she wasn't her birth mom, that her birth mom was Lisa, and she basically abandoned her. Only hearing one side of the story, Logan said she began to hate Lisa, thinking she was abandoned by Lisa and that Lisa didn't want her. All the while Linda May was telling Logan this, Logan said she seemed scared, that she really didn't want to tell or talk to Logan about this. Linda May was interviewed, and she told police what Gaudenzi told her. Lisa ran off with another man, and that was that. Police would also get a little insight into their relationship. Logan remembers when she was in 2nd grade, and she cut her hair short, and her dad was furious, to the point where he was trying to tear down her bedroom door. She would say that her father had a really bad temper, and after that day, the anger would continue, never settling down. In an interview, Nancy mentioned on Lisa's wedding day, for the ceremony, Nancy noticed bruises all over Lisa's legs. Nancy said, I said to her, if Lawrence is beating on you, you and the 2 girls pack your bags and come home with Joe and I. And she said, oh no, Lawrence wouldn't allow it. We didn't know how bad it was. Lisa's friend Rachel would say that Gaudenzi liked to control Lisa, saying that he didn't like that she started school in the army. He couldn't have constant contact with her. One source said that he would even show up while she was in training to talk to her. Even knowing all this information, the police couldn't do anything. They didn't have any evidence, so the case would go cold once again. During all this time, Nancy and Joe never gave up. Nancy created a website for Lisa, did online interviews, mailed John Welsh, America's Most Wanted, multiple times, and even sent mail to the President of the United States. They got nowhere. On January 1st, 2008, Tony Spencer would be elected as Commonwealth's attorney. One of the first things he got was a call from Joe Marto. He set up a meeting with him, and it ended with Tony wanting to investigate and prosecute Lisa's case. A team of 5 investigators would travel to multiple different states to re-interview everybody. One of the investigators, Doc Lyon, said, "What I found in my investigation was Lisa was a highly intelligent young lady. She wanted to better herself, and we knew something was wrong. If she just ran away, there would still be traces of her. Nothing of hers had been renewed, not her license or car. No sightings of her, like a normal missing case would have. It was like she just disappeared." We've had multiple cases where there's been sightings, but there was nothing about seeing her anywhere. While interviewing everybody, multiple different tales of what Gaudenzi said happened would come out. Lindsay took off with a truck driver in Indiana, or she took off with a man in Florida. And it would go on and on about pretty much every person had a different tale that Gaudenzi would say. None of these stories matched. T.C. Collins, another investigator, went to Florida to locate Jim. Jim was living as a homeless man, always carrying a briefcase. And Collins was very curious what was in the briefcase, because
I would be too.
Because as a homeless man, always carrying a briefcase, that's weird.
Yeah.
This briefcase contained multiple tape recordings that had anything to do with Lisa. Jim had these tapes in hopes of catching something to use against Lisa to gain custody of Leah. Which, to me, you're homeless.
Yeah.
How are you going to take care of
a
kid if you can't take care of yourself?
Yeah.
One of the tapes was Jim and Gaudenzi talking about what happened to Lisa. Jim is asking Gaudenzi multiple questions, trying to basically get any dirt on Lisa. And yet again, Gaudenzi would say Lisa didn't want to be with him, and that's why she started going to Fort Lee. And that's why she left him. I think there's a lot more to that tape, but that's the only information I got on it.
Oh, okay.
Because they said the tape was one of the key evidence.
Oh.
So I'm thinking maybe it had something on it that was damning evidence or whatever.
Yeah.
Interviewing a woman named Diane, who babysat Shelby the weekend before Lisa went missing, Lisa confided in her, saying that she wanted to divorce Gaudenzi. Police thought Gaudenzi overheard Lisa saying this, and it caused a trigger event. May 5th, 2008, T.C. Collins would also go to Georgia to re-interview the tenant that was living in the basement. Asking her about the night before, she began physically rocking back and forth uncontrollably. Collins said it was just like it started with just like a slight moving back and forth to then like physically rocking herself. When asking what was wrong, she said she was afraid Gaudenzi would come after her and kill her. The night before Lisa went missing, the tenant was outside smoking a cigarette. Gaudenzi came outside but didn't see the tenant. She said he was carrying a large green bag he could barely lift. He brought it into the woods, and when he returned 10 minutes later, there was no bag in sight. Gaudenzi left the house in a hurry, and once gone, the tenant and her friend went upstairs to check things out, like any nosy neighbor would.
Exactly.
It's normal, okay?
Right.
there was a trail of dirt leading upstairs to the bedroom. Going into the bedroom, they noticed Lisa's military clothes and gear all laid out. Looking in the bathroom, they noticed blood all over. Scared, returning back downstairs, they locked the door and never mentioned anything until this interview. Officers searched Lisa and Gaudenzi's home in Ruther Glen. It only took however fucking many years.
Yeah.
One officer opened the closet door and noticed drywall, like work had been done. Ripping up the carpet, there was a large red stain. When using lumina, it lit up. Taking a sample from the house and sending it in, they couldn't confirm if it was blood or not. But they did confirm that whatever it was had a lot of Clorox in it. May 16, 2008, Gaudenzi was arrested for first-degree murder of Lisa. In May of 2009, trials began, using the tapes and the witness confession. Only 2 days into the trial, Gaudenzi pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. And he is currently still in the same prison, I believe. The detectives working on the case weren't satisfied with how the case ended. Collins and Lyon visited Gaudenzi in prison and said that if you tell us where Lisa's body was, they could possibly talk to the prosecutor to reduce his sentence. I believe this happened after a year of Gaudenzi being in prison.
Okay.
Gaudenzi's story goes like this. Him and Lisa were arguing at the top of the stairs. He grabbed Lisa, and she pulled away and fell down the stairs, breaking her neck. Gaudenzi believed that he would be charged with murder, so he thought getting rid of the body was a better option and pretended she went missing. He said he took her body to a field off Massaponax Church Road in Spotsylvania, which is about a 32-minute drive from Ruther Glen. Gaudenzi said he put her body into a sleeping bag and then into a 50-gallon drum, pouring muriatic acid. Then he buried her body in a field. June of 2010, 15 years after Lisa went missing, police began a search in Spotsylvania County. Around the area, there was a synthetic material, like what is used in a sleeping bag, scattered, and 3 bottles of muriatic acid. They searched for 5 hours and only found one remain, Lisa's dental bridge, that only took 10 minutes to identify. Gaudenzi's sentence was not reduced.
Good.
A memorial was held for Lisa Marto. Her military status was updated, and she was buried with full military honors. She had a gun salute, a flyover, and a minister at her memorial. At the time, her name was Lisa Gaudenzi, but her family had it changed back to Lisa Marto before she was buried. Logan said, "We are free. I lived with the murderer for 13 years. I will never have the relationship I should have with my sister, of growing up and driving her crazy and all the things. It definitely changed everything." Nancy said, "Throughout the whole process, we grieved a lot, not just when it was over. This was a big part of our life every day. Nobody should have to go through this." And I think that's the biggest thing. Nobody should have to go through anything like this. If they just did a search of the house when she went missing, would this case have been solved 15 years ago?
I think so. it seems like they didn't search the house. They just took his word for it, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know the tenant was scared, but why the hell didn't they call the police? Why the hell didn't they go to the police when the police came around asking questions?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
They said their fear was that Gaudenzi would kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I understand that. I do get the fear behind it, but also
a person died,
mm-hmm.
and it went 15 years.
Yeah.
Before actual things happen.
Yeah.
The other thing is, how did it take that long to find him if he was just in the county next door?
Yeah.
Just like last week's case with Livy.
Yeah. Was it the
ex-boyfriend was living at a family friend's house?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're so close.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Yeah.
And they moved the case over to the state police, so obviously the state police has to have people.
Yeah.
More people than what Ruth or Glenn had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how many people were in Ruth or Glenn when. So I couldn't find the population for 1995, but as of 2023, there's 17,857 residents.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure what it was like in 1995.
Yeah.
Did Gaudenzi kill Randy?
I had that as a note also. Like, it seems like, I mean, if he can kill his wife.
Mm-hmm. Why not another person?
Mm-hmm. Especially where they can't find him. I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money, and you can disappear pretty quickly with that, especially if you're, living off of the land, basically.
Yeah. And $10,000 got you a lot further than it does now.
Especially if he got a car also. But I don't believe that. I believe he killed him.
Mm-hmm. That's what I believe.
So I also was kind of curious, did they check the bus station footage? If there was recordings of that, did they check to make sure that, because I'm pretty sure you have like bus tickets, and they have to look at your ticket of some sort to determine anything. Like, did she actually go to the bus? I mean, we know she didn't go to the bus station, but was that ever checked? I mean, it just seems like he said this is what happened, and they were like, okay.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
There was one source that did say that police did look into it. I don't know if it was the county police or if it was the state police, but they did mention that they did look into the bus station and the bus number that Gaudenzi gave, and it didn't exist.
So they didn't think to look into that further?
Yeah. I mean, this is just one source, so I don't know
true.
if
it was actually accurate,
true.
But yeah.
It just feels like the police didn't do what they should have done.
Mm-hmm.
Not until Tony Spencer got into office and then got a group of five investigators together to figure it out. But even that took quite a few years to do too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they said they did have to go to multiple different states to find these people.
Yeah. That's crazy. My last question I had, well, it's not really a question, but can you imagine being a kid? Can you imagine being a kid and you find out that your name was changed by your father?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she knew she had a sister at the time, but then she finds out she has her sister, and she actually ends up hating her birth mom, and then finds out that everything was a lie, and that she was living with the person that killed her mother, and just like having to switch all of that. Like, I can't even imagine. And then, like, grandparents that I'm sure he made all kinds of lies up about the grandparents as well.
Yeah.
And then she finds out that they've been trying to contact her this whole time. I mean, that poor girl was going through some shit.
I don't know exactly if they reconnected or not. I'm sure they did, but I don't think they have a relationship that they should have because of everything that happened.
I hope so. I hope they're building on it. Or building one.
I know she thinks Linda May as, like, family because she was family.
Yeah.
And I know she's a part of that family. She spoke a little bit on that. But I don't know for sure what all's going on there. And I mean, she might just want to keep it private, which is totally understandable. And Leah is still alive, even though she did have cystic fibrosis. She's still alive, and I only seen like one 2-minute clip of her talking. So she didn't say very much in this either.
I kind of wonder, though, Linda May, the Logan's stepmom, she seemed nervous and scared to tell Logan all this information about her mom. So was she fed that information, or did she know more about what happened to Lisa?
Well, I mean, someone comes up to you and then he gets arrested for identity fraud, and then there's this whole mentioning of his ex-wife that went missing, and I'm sure she could do a Google search and find information about it.
Yeah.
And it said that he had a really bad temper, so...
Yeah. Oh, that is true, too. Maybe she was afraid, not just because of what she had heard, but because, I mean, if he was abusing Lisa, most likely he was abusing Linda as well.
Yeah. My thought, this is just a thought, kind of like a theory.
Yeah.
Did some of the letters that Lisa wrote to Israel get fabricated by...
That is something I thought, but I didn't write it down. I was wondering if he, like, wrote them himself and just... Yeah. I mean, I know there was a guy.
There was actually a guy, and they had, like, a brief relationship when she was down there.
Yeah.
In the summertime or something.
But did Jim provide that information to Gaudenzi and was like, hey, like, there was this guy that she was hanging out with? I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities that we just don't know the answer, but I just... Yeah.
Especially where Israel says, like, we didn't have that serious of a relationship.
Yeah.
And in the letters, it's pretty clear that...
Yeah.
But if Gaudenzi didn't fabricate them, to Lindsay, it could have just been, like, an outlet type thing of imagining a better life if Gaudenzi was actually... I believe he was abusing her.
Yeah, I do too.
It's definitely something to think about. I just feel like this case wasn't looked into as it should have been.
Yeah. I'm glad her military status got changed.
Yes.
And isn't it crazy that the only thing that remained was her...
dental.
Yeah.
And if she didn't have that, there would be nothing.
There would be absolutely nothing.
And it's crazy that the bottles of the acid were still there.
Yeah.
After 15 years.
Our hearts go out to the victims in both cases and all individuals affected. With that is all we have for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can find us on Spotify and Instagram at GirlsGoneCuriousPodcast. Until next time.